Hello, folks, and welcome to Got Your Back post-game live stream short shift edition. Oilers with a big win tonight over the Seattle Kraken on the road, 7-2. How about that first period? Holy smokes. Great opening period for the Oilers. We're going to get to Jason Strudwick in just a moment, break down all things that were the Oilers' win tonight over Seattle. First, we want to remind you that Got Your Back short shifts are brought to you by Mid-City Construction Management, a family-owned local company specializing in civil construction projects for over 40 years. And safety is so important to the crew at Mid-City. They are top of the class when it comes to making sure things are done above and beyond required standards. They are leaders in their industry in this regard. They make sure their employees get home safe and sound. And they definitely want to wish the same to all of you, hoping that you had a great holiday season from our good friends at Mid-City Construction Management. As we check in with the man himself, Jason Strudwick. Oh, Struddy, do I see some new decor in behind you finally?
Finally got my posters. A friend of mine in Chicago, this guy painted it. Obviously, Magic, or this is Messier, Magic, and then behind my big head.
Wow. Okay, so what? Oh, so Magic there on the one side. Let's see, Moose. Move it. You got to move your computer over there. Oh yeah, that's a classic. Holding the cup there. Hey, yeah, that's a gooder.
Bo Jackson behind me. So I'll kind of my three idols growing up. I'd say my three biggest guys. I really look forward to.
That only took you 6 months. What was the delay on that, buds?
Art takes time, buddy. Art takes time. You know, you can't tell Picasso to paint a masterpiece overnight. So I got him up, and I'll see how they look in the picture. Maybe I'll back it off a little bit so you can get a little more off. I guess.
Yeah.
Show a little bit more.
Push the computer away from you a little bit there.
Yeah. Show a little bit more.
See, now if you try and get both in, now you kind of can't really, because your monstrosity of a head is making it absolutely no option to see the middle one.
Yeah, I'll just put mess over my shoulder tonight.
You want to go? It's a Messier kind of night.
Yeah, why not? I think it felt like that. We'll see how Mess feels about it.
It's a Mark Messier kind of night. Hey, listen, we're live streaming tonight, so we're going to try and keep track of your comments and maybe get to some throughout the live stream here if we can tonight. So we appreciate everybody that's tuning in for the live stream, or if you're just listening in podcast edition, we thank you for your downloads. So listen, Oilers go on the road. An opponent that they're chasing in the standings, I mean behind, but right there with, and an opponent that they're going to have to play a bunch of times here in the next 3.5 weeks, Struds. This was a really, really positive outcome for the group to go on the road and come out and grab this game the way that they did, beginning with the first period. What struck you about the way the Oil went about their business tonight?
Well, I mentioned earlier today, I had no idea. I had no sense of how this game could go tonight. Literally no clue. And I'm not saying I can predict every game, but you don't know. You know, Calgary, they won, but, I thought Calgary played pretty well. The shots may have been a bit misleading. But, if you look at their last 3 or 4 games, they've beat Dallas, they've beat Calgary, and now they've beat Seattle. I think if not playoff teams, definitely in the mix to be a playoff team, right? So 3 pretty good wins, all things considered, around a tough time of year. Sometimes the holiday season can be tough. But what I like from the Oilers right from the get-go is they were on their toes. They went at Seattle. They went at them right away. Obviously, it was led by 97. But I think the first, I'm not sure if it was the first few minutes, but Yamamoto drives the net, gets hauled down by Susie. They go on the power play. Boom. Even without Leon, they kick him in the nuts and score. Yep. Like, just going to the net is a skill, and I think you have to be brave, I think, at times, but Yamamoto's the smallest guy in the team. He went to the net hard, and Susie dragged him down. Penalty, boom, tone set, scored 1-0, then goal, and then game's over. You just got to play out the minutes and not screw up.
Yeah, I think that's a good pickup by you, Struds. The other thing I really noticed in this game, so no Leon Draisaitl for the Edmonton Oilers. And I thought Connor McDavid came out and was leaving nothing to chance early on in the game. I thought his first shift that he got out there, because his line didn't start. It was, I think the Nuge line started.
Yeah. But
he got out there on the ice, and he had a couple of really good opportunities. But Struds, you could tell right from his very first shift, McDavid had the A game going tonight. You can't expect him to bring that game 82 nights a year. It's tough. But he had it early, and I think that was a sign of Leon Draisaitl not being in the lineup and him just wanting to leave nothing to chance with what he brought early on in that game.
I wonder if he wasn't fresh too. I think
Yeah.
that it's people aren't going to want to hear it. They're professional athletes. I hear you, but you do get tired. You do get tired. I think maybe a couple days off, between games. Well, there's the Christmas break, and then you have the Calgary game, then a couple days off from games. I think it does help. Like it really does help. So he was absolutely flying, and there's no doubt he set the tone. If you're implying he can't get 5 points every night, I think you're right. And he could have had a hat trick too. And I'm not saying that he didn't play well, but I mean the
Had
one off of
breakaway
Hyman, like the one off Hyman, maybe it goes straight, like whatever. But I'm not criticizing him. But he was going. Then I love this play at the end. Burakovsky gets the chance on the nice feed, a really nice feed actually, and he puts a stick in there and blocks it. And you see Skinner just tapping his hand like, thanks, bro.
Yes.
And that's like, it's a small detail. And 7-3 instead of 7-2. Who really cares? But who cares? That goalie, because that goalie wants to let in 2 instead of 3. And it makes a difference. And don't think for a second the other guys on the team didn't see that back check. They all saw it. Every single one of them. So that guy has 5 points tonight, and he's going back because maybe it's just because he doesn't want to get the minus, but still he back checked like crazy.
Yeah. Listen, the difference for a goalie giving up 2 versus giving up 3. I mean, just that simple thing alone right there. Like, that's everything to a goalie. And Skinner wants to win first and foremost, but the difference for a goalie's stats, giving up 2 versus giving up 3, that's a big difference on the way they end up feeling about their overall night, Struddy.
They do. And, I thought Skinner had a good night. I thought it was a different night. I thought he, and I'm not a goalie coach, but I felt that he was having to really work hard to find pucks through screens and longer shots. And some just missed the net. Maybe another night they go in, but I thought he really had to work really hard to find those pucks on those longer shots because there's so many people in front. But that's a little, it's a little bit, maybe the score gets out of hand early, and even the physicality, I thought, the hits maybe didn't truly show the way the physical game went. But I thought Skinner had a good game when he fought through it and got his team a win. Again, he wasn't the difference, but he was an important part of a win. And that's what you want your goalie more often than not to do.
Okay, let's take a minute or two here and just talk about Connor McDavid. What's he at? 32, 40, 72 on the season. I mean, I heard Jack saying on the broadcast, the fastest guy to 70 points since Lemieux and Yager, like in the late 90s. I mean, he's sitting at 72 points, Struds. Like, it's not even New Year's yet. Well, tomorrow, and 72 points. Like, and I thought that, Louis made a good point on the broadcast. I completely agree. That goal he scored, he is passing that puck 7 times out of 7 2 years ago. But man, he's just got this goal scoring mentality in his brain right now. And holy smokes, is he ever something?
I don't get too excited when people tell me the all-time record between the Oilers and the Bruins, or, that 7 years ago, someone had a hat trick on a Friday that was, whatever, that was like a leap year. I couldn't care. I couldn't care about that stuff. That stuff does zero for me. I don't care. But when you start comparing guys about the last time someone had that many points and through this many games, that's impressive, because now you're comparing greatness, right? You really are comparing greatness. And I love that. Those are the stats I care about. Now, other people like other stats, and I'm not talking about analytics. I'm talking about just stats. I don't care about, but this one is very important to recognize, because there's been some really good points or really good players between that, whatever, what would you say, 92, 93, whatever it was?
I thought they had said it was a little bit later, 96 or something like that. But
so
it was in the 90s during those Penguins years.
That's right. So, I mean, those are some really good players, those two guys, obviously. But between now and then, there have been some excellent players, excellent Hall of Fame players, and none of them touched that. And, every time I think, okay, he's hit a ceiling, he finds another way to do it. He finds another way. And I don't know how it's possible for him to keep surprising not just me, but everybody. And some of the things he's attacking, and to get 5 points tonight. I mean, my God. And you know what's scary? Nugent Hopkins had 4 assists. And until I looked at the game sheet, I didn't know. I'm like, what? 4 assists for Nugent Hopkins. So not to take away from Connor, but that is a worthwhile and worthy stat to identify.
Yeah, completely agree. Struddy, what are you holding in your hand there, buds?
Ball, just
What, like, what is that, like a wiffle ball?
a wiffle ball. Yeah, it's like my thinking ball, right? When I'm really into the zone. If I don't have this, it's not a good sign, Shocker. It's
Seriously?
gonna be it's gonna be a week. No, I'm
Uh,
just kidding.
do you hold that often during the podcast?
So this is where I set up to do the Gregor show right here. So I'll have it in me. I kind of throw it in the air and stuff, but I not during the podcast usually. But right now I have it. I'm holding it. I also have this when I need something a little
I can't
more
see. I can't see.
a
What?
little more durable. I need it. This is a like
Okay.
a lacrosse ball.
Yeah.
So that's what I hold. I like to hold the balls.
Yeah.
And,
That's
you
well,
know,
whatever you need, Matt. You've been really good tonight on the podcast so far. So you go ahead,
bring
and do
energy.
whatever you need to do with them things.
That's the ball.
Gonna try and get to the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions here. Just some random comments. Ray Lapp says Costin and Kane give this team real character. Lots of Costin love coming in. Lakefront OK says Costin trade is looking very good. Really liking the guy. That from the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions. Let's get to Clem Costin. I think you had said earlier today on Gregor's show that you thought maybe he would get elevated up the lineup, or maybe that was a guy, it was a bit of a sleeper to get bumped if someone was going to. You've been on him, really from the start. You've liked this guy, and a night like tonight against a team that wants to play a little bit more physical, Seattle's throwing the body around, and Costin, I thought, functioned really well in this game, and then you add the offense on top of it, the willingness to drop the gloves. Like, this is one of those ones where he really stands out, that bigger man skill set.
Well, Jay talked about him the other day and said that he's Klim has identified a need for the Oilers, and that's a big physical player. And he goes, he has skill, and there's no doubt he wasn't drafted as a banger, right? Like, no one says, hey, we're going to take this guy in the first round. I hope he become a third line banger. But there's a desperate need for the Oilers to have physical players and big guys that use their bodies. And I really want to highlight a couple players tonight. I know I'm not
Okay.
talking about Klim only, but I want to talk about Puljujärvi. I want to talk about Koskinen. I want to talk about Nurse. And I'll give Holloway the due. The big bodies showed up tonight, and showed up isn't maybe wrong, but they were very noticeable tonight. I think Darnell's playing some of the best hockey the last couple of games. He's been excellent. Puljujärvi's being big and strong and driving the net hard, kind of being that annoying part. And Costin is big and strong, and he's scoring in the goals. To me, they're a bonus because I don't right now I'm not counting him to score every night. What I'm counting on, though, he can bring the big body every night. And you noticed it. The Oilers look bigger when those guys are in lineup and they're doing their thing. They look bigger, and they're not as easy to push around. And not that I think they're getting pushed around, but they just impact the play, because then you add in Hyman, who brings it. I think Yamamoto, who I highlighted twice, I thought even when he took the hit was a great play. And then when you get Kane back, now we're talking about 6-7 players sprinkled through the lineup that are doing it. And then other people can be guilted into it. So Costin, I love the fact that he's scoring. I was hoping to get the hat trick, but he is the first layer is that physicality, and then the goals come from that. He's not the guy that scores and then gets physical. He needs to have that physicality, and the goals will come from that. And he's getting a chance to play with a guy who was on fire in Nugent Hopkins.
The Yamamoto hit and the Dylan Holloway scrap. Listen, it was a huge hit that Yamamoto took. I love the fact that they went over to him right away and gave him a little pat on the head. But what did you think of the sequence with Dylan Holloway there? I mean, it started pretty innocent in front of the net, right? A cross check from a D-man. He gives it back, which you love to see. Kind of the classic tale of two guys fighting for the same space. And I give Holloway a lot of credit there. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. And Dunn's not a massive guy, but he has a little bit of experience. So what did you make of Holloway being willing to take that fight right there?
Every player who's kind of a big physical guy, even in today's game, you're going to get tested. And I used to love testing younger guys. I would slash guys and just see how they respond. The rookies. Okay, is this this guy into it or not into it? And I remember, I think it was what I am. And I do believe you still have to be a bully on the ice. And I remember one of the true first fights I had was against Ken Baumgartner. Now he was with the Islanders. I was with the Islanders. He was with Boston, tough guy. And I could see him looking at me more of him like, oh shit, like this is gonna happen. And I was 20, I think I was 21 or 22.
Don't
And
make eye contact.
no, don't spook the bear. And the puck gets rung around. If I remember correctly, it gets rung around to I was, for some reason, I was on the right side. Like maybe I was playing right D, and it comes around to me. And I shoot it back, and he's coming. I'm like, screw it. And I drop the shoulder to him, and he goes down, pops back up. Here we go. And I was like, I wanted to show him that I wasn't scared of him. I was stronger than him. I was going to knock him down. So even if he beat me up physically, he knew I owned him, or at least I could compete with him. Right.
Yeah.
And that fight was on, and I don't remember if I won or lost. I mean, I don't think it really matters, because the point was made that I was there. So for Holloway, he get maybe 1 fight, 2 fights a year. Like, it's not going to be a lot, but he's done was testing him. Is this guy going to back down? Is this guy going to just let me cross-check him? And Holloway said no. And in fact, I would have liked to seen him cross-check back harder, because I thought Dunn gave him a couple hard ones before he really gave him a hard one back. Just give it to him. Like, it's Vince Dunn. This isn't Dave Manson. This isn't Darnell Nurse. This isn't a murderer. Like, and you get your space, because you know what? Everyone in Seattle saw it. This guy is going to stick up for himself. And I think it makes a big difference.
I totally agree with you. The other thing too, you talk about the cross check maybe being a little bit harder. If you're going to drop those gloves, just start throwing. He kind of hesitated a little bit when the mitts came off. Hey, sort of. No, I know it's not an easy thing. But that's like, if you're going to drop them, you get that, make sure you get that first one in. I think all of our dads have told us that at some point in time, but good for Dylan Holloway. A really good sign that he, was willing to go ahead and do that. Back to the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions. Curdy14 says, do you think 50 and 50 for McDavid is possible? Nights like this, you certainly feel like it is. Sitting here at 32, it might be a little bit of a push, but man, 60, 65, 70. I mean, his pacing was 70. Like, it's really going to be something to watch. What do you think he finishes at, Struddy?
What are they at? 36 games? How many games are there?
I'll check right now. I think that was their 36th.
Yeah.
36.
So I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I'm actually embarrassed, but in all my goal scoring experience, I believe that you need a night like tonight. He needs to have 3 goals, and just to kind of make up for those nights he doesn't score. Yeah. I'm embarrassed that I'm talking like this.
I'm just going to tweet right now. Struddy says not enough from McDavid tonight and tweet. Yeah,
but you have to understand the context. So what I'm saying is, if you're going for 50 for 50, you need to have a hat trick on a night like tonight. And he had his chances, right? Like the breakaway, and then the one that went off Hyman. And I'm not saying Hyman stole his goal, but though you need to have hat trick nights. You need to have 4 goal nights, or as Wayne did, 5 goal nights. Wasn't it 5 goals he got to get 50 and 50, or did I dream that?
4 or 5.
Yeah. So you need to have those. So I'm on the 50 for 50 train. I want to watch this. I want to see it happen. But I'm not sure if it's possible, because like, it's a night like tonight, I think we have to get those 2 extra ones. But that being said, I think he's over 60 for sure. I said earlier in the year, and I don't remember which one of us said he wasn't going to get 50. It wasn't important to him, but that's not important. Let's not beat up on Zuby or Terry Ryan. But I do think that it's something you want to have if you're a great player, and he's going to get it. And he's aware of what Matthews got last year. You don't think this guy knows? Oh, he'll say all the right things. Oh, well, this is it. I'm just here to help the team, this and that. But he wasn't, when he was going on that shot, he was shooting it. There was no way he was passing it, right? And he knows where he's at, and he knows what Matthews got, and he wants to be considered the greatest of his era. And then you go after that, after the other top guys.
You want to pull up the mentions there on Twitter, Struds? Yes. I'll just do a quick read here. Reminder that Weiss Johnson says, hey, if you're a business owner, remember Weiss Johnson provides a wide range of services, commercial rooftop unit replacements and servicing, as well as plumbing and HVAC, tenant improvements. If you want to set up regular service and maintenance contracts, you can give them a shout. They'll come out and they will give you a quote. It's also a great time of year to put in a garage furnace. Put one in about a month or so ago, and I've been absolutely loving it ever since. We asked people for some of their thoughts on tonight's game on Twitter a little bit earlier as well. Struds, anything in there that's got your interest?
Yeah, I'm going to go with at Artman101A. Obviously, that's his squatting max, 101 pounds. Secondary scoring is a topic of interest, and they came through tonight. And I would agree with that. Like, I think Connor's 5 points is impressive, but Costin's couple goals, and we didn't even touch on Pugliarvi's goal, right? So that was a goal, like a true goal
he sniped that,
goal.
eh?
Yeah, that wasn't a rebound. And listen, I've got nothing against the rebound. And Highway Hyman scores all his goals; they're beautiful. But that's a goal that is a true goal. So he should be feeling a lot better about himself. And then even Darnell Nurse, Darnell could have had a couple tonight. He had one, but I love the way he jumped up in the play. And should be noted, Darnell's way more effective when he passes a puck up and follows the play up rather than being the guy carrying the puck over the blue line. His role is to get the puck up. And you saw that play. He gets it from behind he passes it up from behind his net. I think he rims it to Yamamoto. Yamamoto gets blown up. Nice play by Yamo. Take him on for the team. And then he gets on his horse, gets all the way up the ice, and he's a trailer. Boom, 3-on-2. Here you go. When he carries it over, I think the play dies. But a lot of D-men are like that, right? Like Cale Makar, maybe but most guys, they get over the blue line, D-men aren't sure.
Yeah, you know what, Struds? I think you just made a really, really good point about Nurse's effectiveness, because I agree with you. When he grabs the puck and goes with it, he wants to make a play at the blue line. More often than not, it's a neutral or a negative play when he gets to the blue line. Kind of a dump that maybe, the other team's able to grab, or a hard rim, or I find him not that effective making plays at the line when he carries it. But you're right. His ability to follow up on the play and then take that shot from just inside the blue line with his head up, or to make a play after he gets a pass, I think you're bang on there, because I've probably been pretty hard on Nurse as a puck rushing defenseman in terms of his effectiveness. He is really good at following up on the play, and we saw that tonight.
Finding quiet ice, right? That's what you have to do. And he's got a good shot. Like you can see on that play, gets the pass in the right spot. His head is up and just rifles one through. But when he has the puck and now he has to distribute it, that's not his strong suit. And that's not, I'm not knocking, he's making $9.5 million. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's just a reality, right? You want the puck in Draisaitl, in McDavid's, Yamamoto, all these type of Nugent Hopkins. Those are the guys who are comfortable off the rush making those plays. So, so secondary scoring, that's 4 goals we just outlined of guys that probably you're not counting on night in, night out to score. Like combined, do those guys even have 10 goals? I don't think combined. Well, you got three. Yeah. What does Nurse have? 6?
Now you're putting me on the spot. I think it was.
Yeah. I think that's 3 for JP and 3 for Costin.
Ark, you can take a look at that if you want. Canagon _F1 says Costin contract. I say yes. Matthews being compared to McDavid is blasphemy. The way McDavid's scoring goals this year, boy. You guys are beauties. Good night from Ottawa, from Big McDonald. Thanks.
I see.
Have a good sleep there, Big McDonald.
Yeah.
Back
let's
in
get
the
this
Johnson Twitter mentions here. Yeah.
Yeah, Vance in LA. Should the Oilers get serious about a contract for clean Costin before he gets more expensive? I don't know that there's a rush to get out there and hammer this down.
I think you're probably okay letting that breathe into the offseason. I don't think he's going to price himself out of a depth job in Edmonton next year, but it's a good thought, right? Like if you can, you got to place bets, and sometimes the sooner you're willing to place those bets, the better chance you have at a bargain. So, would it be the end of the world if they got aggressive and got something done? No. Do they need to push really hard to at this point? Yeah. It's been a really good trade, though, man. Like, and you know what?
Really good.
Hey, how about this? We've piled onto the pro scouts in Edmonton for a long time. We really, really have.
Yeah.
But this is a pro scouting find, right? This is a guy who was out there, first round pick, floating around. Why hasn't it worked? What's the intel on him? What do you know? What do you hear? What do you see? This was the Oilers pro scouts identifying a guy that had some game left in him and them executing a trade. And now they traded a depth defenseman that wasn't going to play here for a guy that's contributing pretty regularly, Struds. And I think we should probably give those pro scouts some credit, because we sure crap on them for the bad deals.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. So you look at him, when they're fully healthy, when Kane comes back, where does he slot in? And I think that's a fair question to ask. I think he's moved above Janmark on the whatever depth chart.
Yeah.
But I think does he move around? Is he ahead of Derek Ryan? He doesn't take faceoffs. Does he move ahead? I think he's ahead of Devon Shore. Obviously, he's playing. What about Dylan Holloway? Like all these are all questions that it's good to have that problem where people are making you pause and say, okay, well, where does everyone fit in? Is he ahead of Fogle? I don't know if he's ahead of Fogle, but he's playing well with Nugent Hopkins. So when everyone gets healthy, do you keep him with Nugent Hopkins? Like these are all things you have to figure out. But as far as the contract, I guess if he said 1 year $1 million, yeah. But I mean, as far as locking him up for more than that.
Yeah. One more time to Louise Johnson. Twitter mentions here, hi fellas, is the price for Gavrikov really a first round pick? So this is Gavrikov out of Columbus, an unrestricted defenseman that the Oilers are looking at. He's one of the two guys, really. I mean, it's Orlov and him are in the unrestricted class. And I would say that right now, yeah, that is the price. This is the thing, Struds. If you want to try and jump the gun on the trade deadline by a couple of months, you're going to pay a price for it. So will the price at the deadline be a first plus? I'm not sure. But when you want to try and get into it in the new year, you're dealing with teams that are still trying to figure out how out of it they actually are. Prices are high. So I think it'd probably be pretty expensive to try and jump the rest of the league on a deal like that for a defenseman like that.
Well, yeah, it's going to be expensive, and I think they need to address it. The problems I liked how they traded for Kulak and they re-signed him. You keep the asset. So if you just trade for a guy and then you just lose him, we've seen it work sometimes, and sometimes we haven't seen it not work. Sherratt going to Florida. I mean, Florida took, it was a big chunk to make that for he and Claude Giroux last year. So, where does he fit in? Where does it mean? So if you bring in, let's just say you bring in, I don't care, player A, whatever, Orlov, let's say. And now we have 3 lefties, 3 righties, all on deals, and he signed those guys. Where does that put Broberg? So does it mean that Broberg's out the door? Are you trading Broberg? Is he involved in that trade? Like all that stuff, these are all, and I know that I'm talking a little bit bigger picture, but you have to look at the bigger picture. Do they need to address it? Yes, they do. But the way Darnell Nurse is playing right now, I'm seeing a guy who is playing the vision I had for him, which was hard defensively and being physical and not making, just being good at your job. Just if you get points, that's great. But worry about your own end first. If he does that, I think it really boosts the rest of the team. But the truth is Kulak is a third pairing defenseman on a really good team.
Yeah.
That's where they're at. So that means there's a gaping hole in that left side. Not gaping, but there's a hole. And you have to address it. And I don't know if, is Edmondson the guy? He's kind of in a tough spot there. He's playing on a bad team, probably playing too far up the lineup in the first pair. He's probably at best now a 4th defenseman. So does that make Bouchard a 3rd? Are you comfortable with that as your second pairing? So what does that look like?
Yeah, and this will be, man, we're going to talk about this a lot over the next couple of months, but it's relevant now because, with the team not being where it maybe wants to be, do you try and get something done sooner rather than later? Prices are going to be really high right now. The other one too, with Jacob Chychrun, the narrative has largely been that maybe not a fit for the Oilers. The price really, really high, as we know, what Armstrong's looking for out of Arizona. But listen, I think what a lot of teams wanted to see was this player return, play some hockey, stay healthy, and in order to be able to justify paying that really high asking price. Well, here he is. He's back. 17 points in 18 games, playing 22 minutes and 45 seconds a night. By all accounts, playing pretty strong hockey night in, night out, Struds. If it's Dylan Holloway, this year's first, plus another significant asset, given the way Chychrun's playing here, do you think that the Oilers need to circle around a little on their thought process and maybe consider this a little stronger than what the indications have been that they are? I think they might want to. Yeah. They might want to, I think.
Yeah, well, the criteria I just outlined as far as longevity is required, and his contract is very fair, right? That's very manageable. And Armstrong should be thanking his player because he's making his job a lot easier, right? I think he's going to have people circling back.
Well, the player wants out, and if he wants out, he's got to play his way out as well, right? So he's motivated as well, for sure.
Yeah, he's got to help his GM, right? So, this I've had this discussion with so many people. So, is he an upgrade? 100%. Is he an upgrade towards a Stanley Cup? right? Is he the piece that gets you to Stanley Cup? Are those the 6D? And I say those: Nurse, Chychrun, Kulak, Barry,
CC.
Bouchard, Cece.
Yeah.
Is that a Stanley Cup defenseman, or is that it? Is that you're like, okay, this is it? This is now amongst the elite defensemen in the league. Is that the same as McDonough?
Okay, but
Hedman?
Struds, it is more than list those same guys and say Edmondson's name.
I know.
It is more than list those same guys and say Gavrikov's name. It is more like he's the best of the guys that are being talked about. It's just the asset cost.
So you're kicking all those assets in to just get better, but are you getting Stanley Cup winning better? Like look at this. Look at the D last year that won the Stanley Cup: Makar, Taze, Manson. Are the Oilers better with Chychrun, Nurse?
I mean, you can't have that be the. I mean, you're looking to improve your team. You're looking to improve your team and get yourself over the hump. They need to improve their blue line.
Is that getting them over the hump, or is that getting them to the hump?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they'll have to play it out and see. But your point is if they're going to give away that much, it damn well better get you to the promised land if you're going to pay that high a price. I think that's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and I'm just being the devil's advocate. So he like Chychrun, I like he's a fine player. I've got no problem with adding it. But is it just like the final piece? Is that like now you have it? Like, and I don't know. It makes them better. There's no doubt. I'm not arguing that, but it's a lot to give up. But you're right, Edmund. I don't know if there's a D-man out there that does do it. So you make the trade, and then you get better for sure. And nurses and minutes come down. I get it. I understand what everyone's saying. But is that the final piece? But because maybe you probably need another winger that's a banger, and then probably a centerman that can win draws on the fourth line. That's probably my 3 wish lists. So you get all those 3 pieces, and so let's say you get those 2 pieces that I talked about, and Chychrun. Is this team ready to rumble? Is this it? Because you've just traded away a lot out the door. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not convinced it is. But the problem is the Oilers don't have an elite defenseman. That's the reality. Go look at Makar and Taze last year. McDonough, I don't guess he's not elite, but Hedman. I'm talking Drew Doughty. Go through all the teams that won it. So are you just going to load up front and hope that it goes for it? Maybe that works.
Yeah, it's a really interesting debate because to give up that level of asset to bring in a guy who definitely makes you better, but does he get you over the hump? Does he get you to where you need to be? If you stay healthy, if you look at this forward group when they're healthy, and then you add a significant add like Chychrun on the back end, how much does trading Dylan Holloway hurt your Stanley Cup chances in the next 3 years? I don't know that it does that much. No disrespect to him. He's a young player. How much does trading for Jacob Chychrun hurt your Stanley Cup chances over the next 3 years if it's, Philip Broberg going out? Well, Chychrun's contract is pretty darn reasonable. One of the concerns was, where was Chychrun's game going to be and his health going to be, even to justify that contract? Well, if he stays healthy and plays like this, he's going to be a bargain, right? Stanley Cup championship teams have players playing on them that are a bargain. Good players that play lots of minutes that are bargains. You need to find those guys. And Chychrun has the potential to be a bargain at the dollar figure he's getting paid.
Let me ask you this. Do you feel now or in the future, Chychrun will play more minutes than Nurse on this team?
Probably not. No, I don't think so. I think Darnell Nurse will be the big minute munching guy, right? I think that's...
If you're trained for Chychrun, the Oilers are going to win Stanley Cup. Chychrun has to go from a point of game player to even more, and be even more than he is now, and push Nurse down. And not because I don't think Nurse is good, but he has a higher ceiling, right? Chychrun has a higher ceiling. So keep in mind, when he comes, Chychrun to me is playing with Connor McDavid every shift. Every shift he's out there with him.
So for me, Chychrun's job when he gets here, similar to what they're telling Darnell Nurse, right? Like if the offense is there, by all means take it. Yeah. But what this team needs from you is the best version of your defensive game that you can possibly muster. I mean, they'll have, Barry Bouchard, assuming that, say Bouchard wouldn't be part of the trade. Lots of people here in the comments are thinking that Bouchard would be part of a trade involving Chychrun, and maybe that ends up being the case. But I think, if much like Darnell Nurse, right? He's pushed some numbers in the past that were decent numbers. That's not what they need from him this year. Tyson Barrie's had a great year, and he's quarterbacking that power play and he's putting up a decent number of points. They would just need the best defensive version of Chychrun that he can possibly be. And if your 1-2 at left is Darnell Nurse with a focus on D and Jacob Chychrun with a focus on a two-way game, and neither of them are your first unit power play guys, they're the bigger bodies that you need to survive in the playoffs, or the right size, the dollar figure between the two of them. Yeah. Let's say they're your two best defensemen, and your two best defensemen are what, 13 and change, 14 million? You're probably pretty okay with that.
No, that's fair. But I honestly think that with Chychrun, he's got to be out there with Dave. I think he moves the puck better than Nurse. And then he's got to be out there with Connor. I just think that, but then who do you play him with? So is Chychrun with Cece and Nurse go with Bouchard? Or do you leave, who is it?
I don't know.
Do you want Chychrun and Bouchard together? And we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I can't believe I'm even going down this road, but listen, I don't want people to think I don't like Chychrun. I do.
Yeah.
If I'm making a trade, I want to feel like gets you right there, because after that you've emptied the gun a little bit, right? And then you got to find out, where do you go from there? What are you at? Because the goalies are pretty much set. Up front, there's not going to be much movement, right? Maybe Puljujärvi, I don't know, whatever's going to happen. Although he's maybe finding a bit of his game, and what is Costin? What is his? If he continues down this road, what does that mean for the Oilers, right? That's like found gold. If you find a player, you turn a nothing into something. Kind of like when they traded Scrivens for Cassian, right? That's the kind of trades you're looking at. So you got to win a few of these that really help you out.
No kidding. It's a good discussion, and I was more along the lines of probably not a fit and too high an ask. That was before Chychrun came back and did what he's doing here, which is answer the questions and answer the critics and play real good, solid hockey and put up some points. And it just really gives you the sense that he's going to be value here for the next few years on this contract. And I just think that makes such a big difference, that you control the player for a few more years here at a dollar figure, that if he can be, a number 2 left side guy and be, even push the other guy at that dollar figure, I think I don't know. I think maybe they need to circle back and reprocess it, given where his game is at right now. I'm not sure if they're going to or not, but rather than a rental, a first round pick out the door for a rental guy you might not sign.
That's a killer. Well, I don't believe Tampa Bay did that very often, right? So maybe you bring someone in, and that, I think that makes sense. I like the Tampa model more than what Florida did, dishing out 2 first rounders for guys who aren't with them. Yeah.
All right, cue the music. That was good. We kind of got off on a bit of a trade tangent there, but I don't think people online mind. That's always good. It's juicy stuff, man. And I really do think that the Oilers have the intention of moving the dial on the blue line here. So we're not making stuff up. This is real and will be at a certain point. Who will it be? I'm not sure. But the one thing Ken Holland has shown, Struddy, is when there's a need, whether you like the move or not, he generally has gone out and addressed the need, right? They took him maybe a year or two longer, but they've went out and got a goaltender. Right. The other moves that he's made, it's like holes that are pretty obvious that he's gone out there and filled. I think he's filling this hole this year. I don't think there's any question he will.
Yeah. Just depends for what and how long it lasts.
Exactly. All right. Great stuff, Struddy. Appreciate it, my friend. Thank you, folks, for tuning in here on the live stream. Appreciate all your comments, and thanks for taking part. Big thanks to our sponsors as well, Mid-City Construction Management, and our good friends at Weiss Johnson as well. Oilers in action tomorrow night against the Winnipeg Jets. Might do a podcast. I don't know. We'll talk off air. So are you around after that one? We do this again, or what are we doing?
Tomorrow night, I will probably be a few sheets to the wind, if we're being honest.
You're going to go hard New Year's? What's your deal?
I don't know if I want to go hard, but I want to have the option of getting after it. So we got a few families coming over, and I've purchased a couple nice Bud Lights, 2015. Very nice year. So
nothing but the best for the Strudwick guests, hey? Bud Lights.
Well, they drink the nice stuff. I like the Bud Lights, so I don't want to say no, but I know I can't tell if I'll be sober.
We don't need to do it. I totally forgot it was New Year's. You know why I forgot it was New Year's? I'm not a New Year's guy. I'm totally indifferent to New Year's.
Sure you are, yeah.
Whatever. Doesn't really matter. When your kids are my age, it's more about just making sure they're all good and getting home safe. That's what New Year's becomes when you got a house full of teens. All right, well, we'll check in maybe Sunday or Monday. But Oilers and Winnipeg Jets tomorrow night. Struds, thanks for doing this, my friend. Happy New Year to you. And Happy New Year
Thank
to
you.
everybody out there as well. Hope you have a safe and happy New Year's tomorrow, and look forward to chatting with you next week. Cheers, everybody.